Tonight, we're not just telling a ghost story. We're stepping back in time to a quiet Iowa town, to a night that would forever be shrouded in mystery and fear. This is the story of the Villisca Axe Murder House. Our journey begins on the morning of June 10th, 1912, in the small, unassuming town of Villisca, Iowa. The Moore family, Josiah, Sarah, and their 4 children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul, were well-respected members of the community. They were a typical, happy family living the American dream. The night before, 2 young friends of the children, Lena and Ina Stillinger, had stayed over after attending an evening church service. 8 people slept under one roof, unaware it would be their last night alive. The next morning, a neighbor, Mary Peckham, noticed the Moore house was unusually still. The chores weren't done. The curtains were still drawn. Concerned, she called Josiah's brother, Ross Moore. What Ross discovered inside the house was a scene of unimaginable horror. All 8 people, the entire Moore family, and the 2 Stillinger girls, had been brutally murdered in their beds with an axe. The news sent shockwaves not just through Villisca, but across the entire country. The crime was so savage, so senseless. The killer had moved from room to room, methodically ending the lives of everyone inside. Stranger still were the bizarre details left at the scene. All the victims' faces had been covered with bedclothes after they were killed. The mirrors and windows in the house were draped with fabric. A slab of bacon was found near the axe, which had been left leaning against a wall in a downstairs bedroom. A bowl of bloody water sat on the kitchen table, suggesting the killer had washed their hands before leaving. The doors were all locked from the inside. Panic burst in Villisca. Who could have done this? Was it a crazed drifter? Or was the killer someone they knew? Someone still walking among them? The investigation began immediately, but it was fraught with problems from the very start. The crime scene was a chaotic mess. Souvenir hunters and curious townsfolk trampled through the house, contaminating potential evidence before law enforcement could even secure the area. In 1912, forensic science was in its infancy. Fingerprinting was a new technique, and the samples taken were likely compromised. Several suspects emerged over the years, each with their own compelling, yet ultimately unprovable, theory. First, there was Frank F. Jones, a prominent Villisca businessman and state senator. Josiah Moore had worked for Jones 4 years before leaving to start his own successful farm implement company, becoming a direct competitor. Rumors swirled that Jones had hired a man named William Blackie Mansfield to carry out the murders. Mansfield was a suspected serial killer from Illinois, and some believed he fit the profile. He was even arrested, but a grand jury failed to indict him due to a weak alibi and lack of concrete evidence. Then there was Reverend George Kelly, a traveling minister who had been in town for the Children's Day services the night of the murders. Kelly was an odd character, known for his strange behavior and a history of mental health issues. He reportedly confessed to the murders on a train ride, claiming he was compelled by a divine voice. He was tried twice for the crime. The first trial ended in a hung jury, and the second resulted in an acquittal. His confession was deemed unreliable, and he was eventually released. Another theory pointed to Henry Lee Moore, no relation to the family, who was a convicted serial killer responsible for murdering his mother and grandmother with an axe months after the Villisca crime. The similarities were striking, but he was never definitively linked to the Villisca murders. The list of suspects was long, but every lead eventually grew cold. No one was ever convicted for the crime. The case remains one of America's most infamous unsolved mysteries. Years turned into decades. The house at 508 East 2nd Street passed through several owners, many of whom reported strange occurrences: disembodied voices, objects moving on their own, the laughter of children echoing in the empty halls. It seemed the tragedy of 1912 had left a permanent scar not just on the town, but on the very fabric of the house itself. In 1994, the house was purchased by Darwin and Martha Lynn. Instead of tearing it down, they decided to preserve it. They restored the house to its 1912 condition, turning it into a historical landmark and a unique tourist destination. Today, the Villisca Axe Murder House stands as a dark museum, a time capsule of a terrible night. Visitors can take daytime tours, learning about the family, the crime, and the subsequent investigation. But for the truly brave, the house offers something more: overnight stays. People from all over the world come to spend a night within its walls, hoping to experience the paranormal activity for themselves. It has become a mecca for ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. Featured on countless television shows and documentaries, teams have captured electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs, which they claim are the voices of the Moore children. They've recorded video of doors opening and closing on their own, and objects being thrown by an unseen force. Many overnight guests report hearing footsteps, whispers, and the distinct sound of children crying. Some have even reported feeling a cold touch or being pushed. Skeptics, of course, argue that these experiences are the result of suggestion, old house noises, and overactive imaginations fueled by the grim history. They point out that the house's reputation precedes it, priming visitors to interpret every creak and shadow as something supernatural. Is it truly haunted, or is it a powerful example of how a tragic story can shape our perception of a place? Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the emotional weight of the house is undeniable. Standing in the children's bedroom, seeing the small beds where they slept, you can't help but feel a profound sense of sadness. It is a stark reminder of the lives that were cut short and the justice that was never served. The house is more than just a haunted attraction. It's a memorial. It ensures that the Moore family and the Stillinger girls are never forgotten. The mystery of who committed the Villisca Axe murders will likely never be solved. The secrets of that June night are buried with the victims, but the house itself continues to tell their story, whispering its chilling tale to all who dare to listen. It stands as a monument to a brutal, unsolved crime and serves as a chilling question mark in the annals of American true crime history. What do you think happened that night? Who was the man with the axe? The answer, it seems, remains hidden in the shadows of the Villisca Axe Murder House. Thank you for joining us on this unsettling journey. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's darkest mysteries. Until next time, stay curious.